So much so that we're going to like make this available for other people maybe later on in the future. Okay. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to teach you how to share your goals with your customers, because when your customers are tied into you, it makes a big difference, Connor, when it comes to closing the sale. How many of you have ever had a customer tell you like, oh, this is great. Let me call you back next week. Let me call you back after this. Let me call you back after that. Like I promise I'll buy later. How many of you have ever had promise orders before? Okay, part of that comes from like a mechanical like skill dropping down, knowing how to handle those objections. Part of it also, though, is building up, Riker, enough value of why they should buy Cutco from you today and not buy Cutco from somebody else or you like later down the road. Right. There's a difference between like selling them on the product and like getting them all jazzed about Cutco, but then not, and then they're excited about Cutco. And then there's a difference between getting them excited about Cutco and excited about helping you today. So I'm going to share with you a couple stories because this is a really like helpful exercise. So let me go all about me. Okay. So one of the things that I'm going to encourage, suggest, dare I say, assign each of you to do this in like tonight, or ideally as quickly as you can, is to create what's called an all about me sheet. So here's a blank template for you. And I'll drop this in here for you. But what I would do is I would create a slide that you can text, email, airdrop, whatever, to your customers of here's who I am and here's what I'm working towards. And so let me show you a good example of what this could look like. So this is Matthew Ballard. Matthew Ballard, Zach remembers Matthew. Matthew started in 2020 in my office in January. And Matthew sold $6,000 in his fast start, and he wanted to. I sat down with Matthew after his fast start, Tyler, and I said, "Hey, Matthew, just so you know, I think that you're somebody that could go after the scholarship, like the All-American scholarship. Are you interested in seeing what that would look like?" So Magdalene, he's like, "Yeah, tell me what it looks like at least." So we sat down, and just so you know, the scholarships. There's 3 scholarships in the year. The scholarship is the top 25 student sales representatives in the spring, top 25 student sales representatives in the fall, and the top 50 in the summer. And it's based on sales volume. So it's based on like total sales. And in order to qualify, you've got to be enrolled in 12 credits in the spring or 12 credits in the fall, or in the summertime being you're top, one of the top 50, and you're going to be enrolled in 12 credits in the fall. You don't have to be a student in the summer necessarily, but in the spring and the fall campaign, you do. So I sat down and we looked at the past couple of years of data, Connor, of what number 25 in the nation came in, like where they came in sales wise, as far as like the scholarship race was. And what we determined, Jenny, was that number 25 usually came in right around 20 grand. Sometimes it was 18, sometimes it was 19, sometimes it was 21 over the past 3 or 4 years, but right around 20 grand was the sweet spot. Anybody that sold over $20,000 in their first, like that semester as a student, typically put themselves in the top 25. And then the scholarship, Magdalene, is just, it's a cash payout. Zach's won it before. It's a cash payout of anywhere between, Zach, what's the lowest? Do you know? Is it 500 to $1,000? I can't remember.
I think in the summertime is 250 up to $1,000.
Yeah, I think it's 250 to $1,000, depending on where you place, right? So it'd be like, number 25 through like 15, I'll get $250, and then 15 through 10 get like $500, 10 through 5 get, something like that. I don't know like the payout exactly, but it's cash payout. So basically what we did is we sat down and we took however many weeks were left in the campaign, which at that point would have been like 15. And we took where Matthew was at, and we made a sales goal, and his goal was to sell $25,000 worth of Cutco for the campaign. And so to sell $25,000 worth of Cutco. So basically he needed to sell another $19,000 worth of Cutco. And it came out, we broke it down, Tyler, that he just needed to complete 8 to 10 appointments a week. So he had a very clear objective. He had a goal. He had a thermometer that showed the customer, my goal is to do 120 appointments, I think is what it was, over the course of the semester. That's like 8 to 10 appointments a week, and sell $25,000 worth of Cutco. Great. So that was the objective. Every time Matthew made a phone call, to book up an appointment. It was, hey, Mrs. Jones, is there any way you could squeeze me in this week? I'm working really hard to win this scholarship. And my goal is to do 10 appointments by Monday night. Is there any way you could squeeze me in on Friday at 3:30, or do you think 5 o'clock could be better for you? On the phone, they heard that he had a goal of blank number of appointments to stay on track for his scholarship. When he sat down with them in the presentation, Riker, in the very beginning, hey, Mrs. Jones, let me tell you a little bit more about me. Can I share my goals with you? Great. I'm actually a student at Dixie State University. And he would show them this snippet, right? He would send it to them. As you can see, I'm a student at Dixie State University. I'm studying accounting. My goal is to get into the BYU accounting program. So I'm transferring here. I serve my mission in the Netherlands. I play piano. And as you can see, I'm, he eventually, was dating and got engaged to that lovely young lady. And Mrs. Jones, is really important. Thank you for seeing my appointment, because it's really important, because I'm working really hard to win a scholarship. My goal is to sell $25,000 worth of Cutco for the campaign. And I'm at blank thousands of dollars sales right now with this many weeks to go. Does everybody see like where I'm getting at? Like, he crisply had his objectives, and he shared that in the phone call, shared that at the beginning of the demo. And at the end of the demo, Magdalene, when he'd ask for recommendations, he'd say, hey, Mrs. Jones, how'd you like my demo? Great. Thanks so much for seeing my appointment. There's one more really important part. He'd ask for recommendations. And in there, he would say, and I'm working really hard to do 8 to 10 appointments a week to stay on track for my scholarship. So they heard about the fact that he had a scholarship on the phone call, at the beginning of the demo, at the end of the demo. And he had this clear and concise little paper here. And he had a thermometer that every presentation he'd do, he'd update it and show his customers where he was at to his overall goal. And I'll show you the document that he used. Anyway, he shared his goals so so purposefully with his customers and with so much enthusiasm that we got to the last week of the semester. Today, in fact, actually 3 years ago today is when this contest came to a close. So this is actually really fitting that we talk about it in today's Key Staff. 7 days before the last day, which would have been today. So last week, if this was 3 years ago, I came to Matthew and I said, hey, Matthew, you're at, I think he was at like $19,000, or he was at, he was at $20,000 in sales. Remember, his goal is to sell 25. And at the moment, Megan, he was number 33 in the standings. All right, so he was number 33 in the standings. But here's the thing, Magdalene, the standings are super tight. It's like within a couple $100 of each person. So I said, Matthew, we've got one more week to go. You're number 33. It doesn't matter whether you win the scholarship or not. What matters is that you finish strong, right, Kirsten, and that you do what you said you were going to do, which is fight to the very last moment to win this thing. So I said, Matthew, how many appointments can you do this week? He's like, dude, it's fine. I was like, I can do like 3 appointments. I said, great. Or like 4 appointments, whatever. And I said, book up those appointments with your best customers. We're going to send an email right now, and we're going to email it to all your past customers. Here's what the email said, Jenny. It said, hey, this is Matthew. Thank you so much. Just wanted to let you know where I'm at as far as my scholarship's concerned. Here's where I'm at. I'm number 33. I was promoted to be an assistant manager. I had, and then none of this would have been possible without you, Mrs. Customers, or whatever, or, with you guys, without you, my customers. Thank you so much for your purchases. Hard return. Ryan, if you've thought about getting any more or adding any more Cutco to your collection, if you need gifts for Christmas, holidays, weddings, birthdays, or just want to add anything, I'm doing my very best deals right now because I'm only blank number of orders. I can't remember. It was like 6 or 7 orders. It might've been like 10 or 15 to get to 25K. But it was like I'm 10 or 15 orders away from hitting my goal. So if you've thought about placing an order with Cutco, definitely give me a call by Monday and I will hook you up with the best deal. So we sent that email out. Didn't know what was going to happen to him. Maybe nothing, maybe something. He did 4 appointments that week. 6 of his customers emailed him back and said, Matthew, we want to get some more Cutco. And on the last day, he called those 6 people back and sold $3,000 worth of Cutco on phone orders to those 6 people and jumped from number 33 in the nation to number 15. And won a scholarship. Right? Ryan, I think that's pretty cool. Right? Finished strong and just left it all out there on the field. But his customers were also super, and by the way, there's Alex Funk, the number 1 office in the nation right now. Second office, excuse me. 3rd. He's just ahead of us, and he's just behind Phil and somebody else. Kate Stukin, she ran a branch office, did really well. And Matthew, by the way, ran a branch office for our company as well. But like number 15 in the nation won a scholarship. By the way, because Matthews worked with Cutco, and was an assistant manager, branch manager, and won a scholarship. When he went to get his job at Mountain America after he stopped working with Cutco, they started him as like a pay raise higher than everybody else in that position just because of the experience that he had. When he went to go get into the business program at BYU in their accounting program, they looked at his resume and was like, cool, you're in, which is one of the most competitive programs, like not just in the state, but like out there. When he's gone for like internships, they look at him and they go, how do you have this much experience? And it's because of the things he learned with Vector. And how did a lot of that really get kicked off? It's because he pushed towards the very end because he shared his goals and he tied his customers into what he was working towards. So that's the power of like putting it out there. Here's what I'm working towards and having like a really clear objective of what and why you're going after a certain thing. Here's a couple other, here's another example. Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, again, fitting because he won this contest 3 years ago tomorrow, or 3 years ago, a couple weeks from now. Brian wanted to sell $12,000 worth of Cutco in his 2-week break between semesters, spring semester and summer semester with his master's degree program, and sold $11,600 worth of Cutco. And he shared this with his customers. It had his whys and his goals. Here's a couple other people. There's Trina, right? A couple other people in here of what they were working towards to give you kind of an idea. You can make this thing your own. But I really think having a page of about you, Jenny, with pictures of you and your kids and what you do and what your hobbies are and what you love is really important to send to your customers to tie them into you. And I also think it's really important that you have a thermometer showing how close you are to your goals. Okay. So this might be like your fast start goal. This could also be your summer goal. This could also be your monthly goal, right? Doesn't matter what it is, but you want to have a thermometer. Now, the cool part about this, Riker, is this right here. If they see your customers, if your customers see that you're close to hitting your goal, Ryan, this can make the difference between them buying a piece or a couple pieces, or buying a couple pieces and buying a starter set, or a starter set and a homemaker set, or a homemaker set and an ultimate set, because they know it helps you out. And it's fun when people are like, hey, I like that cheese knife. If I buy that cheese knife from you, Jesse, is that going to help you towards your goals? It really is, Mrs. Jones. Right? And they go, okay. Because they wanted the cheese knife. They're going to have that cheese knife forever, and it's going to make sense to them. But it's the excuse that they have to buy it today. Now, people do not buy Cutco just to help you out. But the reason why people buy Cutco today, as opposed to waiting years down the road, next year, next month, next decade, or whatever, is because it helps you. So when you share your goals with clarity and you share your goals with enthusiasm, that makes a big difference. So let me do this. I'm going to give you, do I have an all about me template? Let me look here. Oh, actually, you all have one. Duh. It's in your workbook. If you go to the bottom of your fast start schedule, there's a little spot that says how to do the all about me page. Here's what you do, Riker. You're going to go in there and you just hit file, make a copy of the entire presentation. And now you have your very own template that you can start plugging all your pictures into. Everybody catch that? Okay. Now, what do you do after you get these made? Here's what I would do. I would go here and I would go file, download, JPEG, and you can download this file as a JPEG. Right? And now I can take this picture, I can email it, I can text it, I can airdrop it, whatever, to my customer and say, hey, Mrs. Jones, can I tell you a little bit more about me? Great. I actually just texted you a little picture. Why don't you go ahead and open that up? Mrs. Jones, you see how let me tell you a little bit more about me. Here's who I am. Here's where I'm from. Here's my hobbies. You can see that I do this. You can see that I do that. Does everybody catch that? Back in the day, Zachary and I, we used to print this crap and put it in a sheet protector and put it in the beginning of our presentation books. And we would like point at it and tell us about it, tell them about ourselves. Now you can do it virtually. So you want to have an all about me page. And the second you finish it, by the way, I want you to text it to us, text it to your manager, right? Because I want to give you some feedback. I might tell you, hey, maybe move this over here, or, hey, you're a really interesting person and this goal is important. I would add that little bit of information there. So send us through a rough draft. And then you're going to want to make a thermometer, and you can redo this to be whatever you want. I would go by the 6 demos per 1,000 is probably a pretty safe rule. right? So if you want to sell $10,000 worth of Cutco in some sort of contest, so that comes out to be more like 40 appointments. But I would do either your fast start goal. You could do your summer goal, Riker, which we've talked about, loosely. So let me just throw this out here. If I'm, my summer goal, can I edit this? Oh, no, I can't. Why? Because I'm in the wrong one. Fine. I will make my own copy of my own document. There we go. And you know what? I'll make this really easy on Riker. This is Riker's new document. Riker Beck goal sharing. All right, now we go slideshow. Nope, not that. We're going to go share. You could also just share this to your manager if you want. That's our Beck. No, it's Beck Riker. There it is. Riker, I remember your email. I just always like switch your last name and your first name there. All right, so if I'm Riker, here's what I could do. I could go my summer goal. Wow, I can't spell today. And then I would go, 50,000, right? Tyler, you and me just talked about this, and this number could be 30,000 or like 35,000, however you want to split that up. This goal would be 25,000. And this goal would be 10,000. It's also, by the way, totally legal to have multiple thermometers, as Zach knows, right? Zach's learned from one of the greatest of all time when it comes to sharing your goals with his customers, Mr. Jeffrey Paul Boberick. And Jeffrey always has a summer goal, just so you know, Riker. And he always has like a weekly or a push goal because there's always some sort of contest going on in the summer. By the way, if I'm Riker and I want to do 50 appointments or I want to sell $50,000 worth of Cutco, I go $50,000 in sales, divide that by $400 average order. That's 125 orders. And I'm going to divide that by we're going to go 70% closing percentage. It means Riker needs to do 180 appointments. Riker, did you know that there is 18 weeks in the summer? You know what that comes out to be? 10 appointments a week. Yeah, Ryan, I don't think it's like that complicated to get 10 appointments a week if you're lifting and like hanging out on the farm. You know what I mean? Like you could totally do 10 appointments a week. Riker, you sell 50 Gs this summer, you will be an All-American scholarship winner, just so you know. Yeah, right. So that's what Riker would do. And then Riker is going to go in and take some nice pictures of Idaho, his family, snow machines, football, everything else that's going on there. Does that help? Okay, that's step one. The other step to this, by the way, is to, hang on, I need to give you the All About Me template. Oh, no, it's already in your workbook. Duh, we already talked about that. All right, the next thing is you need to know how to share your goals with your customers in a way that ties them into what you're doing. All right, let's see if I can find this. Great. I'm going to drop this in the chat box in just a moment, by the way. All right. Let's see. Should I show it in the folder? Oh, it's not letting me drop in the chat box. Okay. I will send this out, but here's what the document looks like. We're going to go through this step by step, and then I'll give you some keys on closing. All right, I'm going to need some help reading though. So let's see, Riker, since we're talking about you, can you read this first paragraph for me?
Yep. There's a big difference between simply telling your customers about your goals and actually enrolling them, inspiring them to genuinely care about your goal and be willing to do anything in their power to help you reach it. Following the following 6 steps will show you how to enroll your customers in your goals for the year in the campaign, the month for a push period, a single week, or even if your goal is just to have your biggest single day. Follow these 6 steps to reach new level of success.
Beautiful. All right. Now, we used to give this document to people to like staple into their manuals, but my vector demo, actually, we spliced some of this document already into my vector demo. So I want you to think of this document as like kind of the 2.0 version of what's in your manual. Some of the phrases are actually already in there, but as long as you hit all these steps, you're going to be good. So step number 1 is get permission. Simply ask if it's okay to share your goals with them. This creates instant rapport, likability, since they will see you as likely or as likable and considerate. And what does it say right here, Mrs. Jones? Do you mind if I share my goals with you? Right? What you're doing right here, right, Kirsten, is you're no longer just like, well, I'm working with Cutco and trying to sell some knives. Anybody ever felt like your goal sharing was that? It was like, I'm doing appointments and stuff and trying to do the best I can. You're going to be able to like clearly and, enthusiastically share what you're going after. By the way, some of you might not even know what you want your goal to be. That's where you want to sit down and have a PC with either myself or Kirsten or Zach, and we can walk you through like what a goal looks like, because we've helped people put that together, and we've also hit our own goals. All right. Next one, get excited. Explain how big, right, your goal is to you personally, and tell them why it is so important, right? So going back to Riker's situation, right? If my goal, I go back to Riker's goal sharing here. Riker. All right, so Mrs. Jones, my goal, so I'm working with a company this summer. I'm prepping for a football team in the fall, and I'm going to be going to university. My goal is actually to do 180 appointments this week and sell $50,000 worth of Cutco. To put that in a little bit of perspective for you, Mrs. Jones, I've been working part-time as a student, and I've sold $10,000 worth of Cutco, just barely. So I'm looking to quintuple where I'm at so far, right? That could be something that you say, right? That's a pretty big goal. Well, I'm going to be in the top 50 students in the company out of thousands of representatives. And then I want you to read, Ryan, can you read this one for me? This one's important to get right.
Be vulnerable. When you're vulnerable with people, people fall in love with you. Sharing your genuine fears, doubts, and nervousness about reaching your goals makes you human. It removes ego and allows people to know the authentic you. By the way, if you're scared about reaching your goal, then your goal is not big enough.
Yeah, if you're not scared about reaching your goal is not big enough. Your goal should make you a little bit nervous. Now, it's important to do this the right way, which is, hey, Mrs. Jones, my goal is to do 180 appointments this summer, sell $50,000 worth of Cutco. I'm going to be one of the top 50 student sales representatives in the company. This is going to help me save money for a potential, ding-a-ding for a special someone. If my name is, Riker, I don't know. I just got a girlfriend. Things are apparently going well. So maybe he's going to propose, that costs money. Right. So, Mrs. Jones, as he like looks over at his girlfriend who's in the room, Riker, I was trying to be discreet, don't want to give anything away, but he's kind of, I'm just kidding. Riker would say, my goal is to do 180 appointments, be the top 50 in the company. I'm looking to save X amount of dollars in my bank account. This is a really pretty big goal, Mrs. Jones, though. This makes me nervous because I've got a lot of other things going on, and I've got to stay on track for doing 10 appointments a week. And the number seems pretty big when I talk about it. And you want to just make it super brief. And then you're going to inspire them with your commitment. Tyler, can you read these next two for me? Thank you.
Inspire your customers with your dedication to your goals. Assure them that you are 100% committed to giving it your absolute best and working harder than you've ever worked in your life until the end to reach your goals. Be passionate, be excited, make them wish their kids were even half as motivated as you are. By inspiring every customer with your level of commitment, not only does it solidify your commitment in your own mind and help you sell more, it also creates the possibility for you to call on them later during the week, push, year, etc., to help you reach your goal.
Beautiful. That right there opens and unlocks the gate to do what Matthew did and make it not be weird at all. When Matthew sent out the email to his customers, hey, I'm this many orders away from my goals. If you've ever thought about, getting some more Cutco, now is the time to do it. It's only natural for his customers to look at that email and go, yeah, that makes sense. You sent in that email. Matthew was like all in, right? Chips were all on the table that he was going to be 100% committed to the process of hitting his goal, right? Putting in the effort, right, Connor, that it's going to take, because we focus on effort over results. So you should inspire your customers with commitment. So if I'm Riker, my goal is to do this. Kind of nervous about that because I've never done that before. But Mr. Jones, I'm 100% committed to putting in the effort that it's going to take. And I'm going to do my very, very best to complete 180 appointments this summer in order to sell my goal of $50,000 worth of Cutco. So you share that kind of enthusiasm and passion with them and commitment to like, hey, I'm doing this, or I'm going to give it everything I have, right, Kirsten? And then what do? You take off the pressure. Mrs. Jones, please don't feel like you have to buy anything, by the way, just to be nice and help me hit my goal. Cutco is too expensive to buy just to be nice. Now, by the way, I hope you all know that word right there is a value building word. The more times you can say expensive in the front half of the appointment, the more it builds up in their mind the price of Cutco, so that when you drop it on them that it's only $15.49, they're like, what? I thought this was stuff was gonna be like $4,000. It's 15. Wow. 330. You know what? 337. Expensive, but worth it. Oh, Mrs. Jones, did you see that heat treating process? Yeah, that's actually really expensive, but worth it. Tyler, you could say that during the video. Oh, do you see the craftsmanship that goes into our product right there, Mrs. Jones? You see that? Yeah, that's expensive, but you know what? That's sure worth it because customers love their stuff. And then you say, however, most people that I see absolutely love the products. If you do see anything you like today, I really appreciate it. Anything you get today really helps me towards my goals. And then you're going to set the expectation for referrals. Connor, can you read that last section for me? Thank you.
This is the most important part. In fact, my goal isn't really to sell you anything. If you do decide to get a set today, which, like I said, most customers do, that's great. But honestly, this might sound kind of funny, but my most important goal is that you like me. More than anything, I just want to make sure that you enjoy our time so that you feel good about referring me to your friends or family. Just like so-and-so recommended you. That's really my favorite part of my job because all my appointments are from personal referrals. I get to meet a lot of really nice people. Don't worry about that now, though. We'll do it at the end. You still have to make sure you like me.
And that's like the best. I love that phrase. Like, Ms. Jones, most important part is just that you feel comfortable giving me recommendations. Don't worry about that now, though. We'll worry about that at the end. Still got to make sure you like me. And they go, Tyler, we already like you. Especially if they're people that like know you, Magdalene. They're like, well, Magdalene, we already like, oh, that's good, Mrs. Jones. This should be pretty easy then. You're going to notice, by the way, a couple of these phrases, like I just said, though, are cut and they're already put in here, right? I'm working with Cutco because I just started a Fast Start contest. Look, Ms. Jones, my biggest goal today is that you like me, right? And like I said on the phone, you'd be getting a great product, be helping me out to me towards my goals. So here's what you're welcome to do. You're welcome to take this document and you can use it and like implement a couple of like maybe the full paragraph right here, setting the expectation for referrals. Instead of reading that one line, right, you could read the paragraph. And instead of reading that one line, you read this paragraph, right? That's step 5 and 6. And step 1, 2, 3, 4. That's actually pretty simple when you tell your customers what your goals are right here where it says those 3 lines, either Fast Start contest or President's Club letter or scholarship. You'd use step 1, 2, 3, and 4 to introduce your goal. And again, when you have it on a thermometer or when you have your goal on a thermometer and you have a very specific attainable thing that you're going after, that's going to make a huge difference at the end of the presentation. Does that make sense? Okay, that's how to share goals in a nutshell. As soon as you get your All About Me template put together, what I would do is, again, I would share that with your manager, whether that's me or, if you're watching this recording in the future, share that with somebody else. And then I would practice it with your manager a couple of times so you get it down pat. So it's like nice and fluid. If you can get that nice and fluid, then you're going to be in a good situation. Make sense? Okay. Now that we've done that, let's talk about some like closing mechanic stuff.